October 7th, 2023 marked unspeakable horror in Israel. The same evil that murdered Kfir, Ariel, Shani, Maya, and Hirsch also silenced Mahsa, Neda, Nika, Puya, and Kian. From the shared pain at the hands of the Islamic Republic and its terrorist puppets, we will build a shared future between our nations. Light shall triumph over darkness. My deepest condolences to the victims and their families. May all hostages return home swiftly, wrote His Majesty Prince Reza Pahlavi on X. The October 7th, 2023 massacre perpetrated by Palestinian Hamas and at least 4 other Palestinian armed groups in a premeditated orgy of savagery remains an unforgivable stain on humanity. In that single day, 1,195 defenseless civilians were slaughtered, gunned down at close range, killed by grenades in shelters, burnt alive in their homes, or dragged away as hostages in a calculated campaign of war crimes and crimes against humanity. These cowardly monsters who reveled in mutilating bodies, raping women, and pillaging communities deserve eternal condemnation and swift justice, not excuses or equivocation. Their bloodlust stands as a grotesque betrayal of any cause, fueling only endless horror. As the world marks this dark anniversary, we must etch this barbarism into memory, vowing never to forget or forgive such demonic evil, wrote Iranian Americans for Liberty on X. Although the recent United States-Iran deportation deal represents a commendable advancement in immigration enforcement, it starkly underscores the inadequacies of existing United States visa and residency policies toward the Islamic Republic, which have allowed a dangerous loophole for regime elites' offsprings to embed themselves in American society. These policies fail to prevent Basij paramilitary and IRGC known as Sepah infiltrators from gaining entry and even citizenship, thereby enabling a persistent fifth-column presence that undermines national security. Current safeguards have permitted U.S. citizenship or green cards for an estimated 4,000 children of regime officials and those directly responsible for the 1979 U.S. Embassy takeover and hostage crisis, such as Asa Hashemi, son of key spokesperson Masoumeh Ebtekar, who held 52 American captive and now a California-based consultant after doctoral studies there. Similar protections extend to prominent regime-linked families, like the Shamkhani family, sanctions evaders funding overseas luxuries with members potentially holding U.S. properties or passports, all highlighting how high-ranking regime connections or past involvements enabled absurd access, including voting rights in United States presidential elections despite laws that should bar such privileges. These ridiculous protections will continue to invite escalating threats, eroding democratic institutions from within and rewarding the very oppressors who seek America's downfall, wrote Iranian Americans for Liberty on X. The death sentence of Ehsan Faridi, a 22-year-old student at Tabriz University, has been upheld by Iran's Supreme Court. Faridi was arrested by security forces in Tabriz and transferred to prison. He had previously been sentenced to death by Branch 3 of the Tabriz Revolutionary Court, headed by Judge Hassan Fatpour, on charges of corruption on earth. According to reports, Mr. Faridi's initial charge was propaganda against the regime, and he was temporarily released after posting bail. However, about 40 days later, he was summoned again by Branch 15 of the Tabriz Investigative Court, led by Sayyed Ali Musavi. After the charge was changed to corruption on earth, he was rearrested and returned to Tabriz prison. Sources say the investigating judge, later dismissed from the judiciary over involvement in an economic corruption network, asked Mr. Faridi's family for a bribe during the case proceedings. When the family refused, a more serious charge was filed against the student. The death sentence of Sayyid Muhammad Jawad Wafai Sani, a political prisoner held in Vakilabad prison in Mashhad, has been upheld for the third time by the Supreme Court of Iran. This ruling comes despite the fact that the same court had previously overturned his sentence twice. According to shared reports, Branch 9 of the Supreme Court has confirmed his execution sentence on charges of corruption on earth through arson and destruction of public property. Babak Paknia, his lawyer, stated in a public note that despite serious legal flaws in the judicial process, the death sentence was upheld. He added that due to interference from third parties in the legal proceedings, a letter has been sent to the head of the judiciary and a request has been made for special inspectors to intervene before it is too late. Mr. Wafai Sani, a 28-year-old boxing coach and political prisoner, was arrested in Mashhad and transferred to Vakilabad prison. He was initially sentenced to death by the Mashhad Revolutionary Court on charges of corruption on earth through deliberate destruction. The Supreme Court overturned the sentence twice, sending the case back for retrial. Branch 3 of the Mashhad Revolutionary Court again sentenced him to death. The Supreme Court confirmed the verdict. Amir Hossein Mousavi, a political prisoner held in Evin and formerly active on X under the username James B. Dean, has issued a message from prison responding to a 2030 news segment aired against him. He called the accusations in the report completely false and distorted. Mr. Mousavi stated that his televised confession was recorded under pressure and threats from interrogators after 148 days in solitary confinement, and that his words were heavily edited and twisted. He stressed that he has no connection to Mossad or any foreign entity, describing himself as merely a critical and freedom-seeking citizen. All my chats on social media were with ordinary users, he wrote, and I never shared any security information with anyone. Mr. Mousavi called this state TV report an attempt to invent a fake spy to cover up the regime's failure to catch real ones. The whole point of this report, he wrote, is to make the audience believe the unknown soldiers of Imam Zaman caught a Mossad spy after the 12-day war, while I've been sitting in prison for nearly a year without trial. A student at Yazd University has been suspended for 1 semester by the university's disciplinary council for tearing down posters supporting Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. The posters had been put up by the university's Basij student organization. According to the official notice, the student has 10 working days to appeal the decision to the Disciplinary Appeals Council. If no appeal is filed within that period, the ruling becomes final and enforceable. The suspended student was pursuing a master's degree in chemistry. Sara Abbasi, wife of Manucher Bakhtiari, the father of slain protester Puya Bakhtiari, wrote on Instagram, "The sentencing judge in Bandar Abbas has sent a letter to the Revolutionary Court of Karaj requesting an emergency furlough for Manucher Bakhtiari. The letter states that he currently has no fixed residence or financial means to afford food and clothing, and that an urgent leave is necessary for his health and survival." The court was asked to respond within 24 hours, yet more than 8 days have passed with no reply. Mrs. Abbasi added, "When my husband has spent nearly 6 years in prison for seeking justice with no job or income, how can we find housing or live with his wife and child? You've torn us apart. This separation is inhumane." Manucher Bakhtiari was transferred from Chubindar prison in Qazvin to exile in Bandar Abbas after 1,615 days behind bars. His wife and son were not informed nor allowed to see or contact him. Mehdi Nouri, known as Araz Irani, a monarchist political prisoner, has reportedly faced death threats while held in Ardabil prison. Mr. Nouri was previously arrested for raising the national lion and sun flag and displaying images of the late Pahlavi monarchs in Iranian streets. Sources close to him say that after expressing support for His Majesty Reza Shah II, some prison officials threatened him with murder. Since his arrest, 3 separate cases have been filed against him. One was initiated following a complaint by the Supreme Leader's representative in Ardabil, Hassan Ameli, and in 2 other cases, he has been sentenced to prison, lashes, and fines. Additionally, a new case accusing him of disturbing public opinion is currently under review. Branch 47 of Isfahan's Court of Appeals has upheld the lower court's verdict, sentencing 10 Baha'i women to long prison terms and heavy fines. According to the ruling, Yegane Agahi, Yegane Ruhbakhsh, Arezu Sobhanian, Mojgan Shahrazai, Shana Shoghifer, Neda Badakhsh, Parastu Hakim, and Negin Khademi each received 10 years in prison and a 100 million toman fine. Additionally, Bahar Lotfi and Neda Emadi were sentenced to 5 years in prison and a 50 million toman fine each. All 10 women were also given supplementary punishments, 2 years of travel ban and 2 years of social media prohibition. Among them, Yegane Ruhbakhsh and Arezu Sobhanian are mother and daughter, and Yegane Ruhbakhsh is only 19 years old. The Isfahan women were accused of propaganda against the Islamic Republic, conducting educational activities contrary to Islamic principles by promoting and teaching Baha'is' beliefs to Muslims, and collaborating with hostile groups, the Baha'is' administrative body or House of Justice, against the Islamic Republic. The appeals court was held without prior notice and without the presence of the defendants, and the verdict was issued in absentia. Due to the case being declared security sensitive and confidential, the ruling was only verbally communicated to the lawyers, was not recorded in the official legal system, and photographs or written copies were not allowed. Mostafa Mirzai Bastami, a monarchist political prisoner, was reportedly beaten by officers at Khurramabad Central Prison and transferred to solitary confinement after releasing an audio message calling for action on his unresolved case and asking the public to be his voice. According to reports, his case has remained in limbo for about 4 months, and judicial authorities have yet to respond to his requests for review. Following the circulation of the audio, prison guards allegedly used violent force to remove him from the general ward and place him in solitary confinement. His current physical condition and situation remain unknown. Hundreds of people in Hamadan, along with students from Bu Ali Sina University, gathered outside the campus to protest the harassment of Iranian girls by Iraqi students. Reports say these Iraqi students are linked to Iraq's Hashd al-Shabi militia group. Also, a video circulating on social media shows people in Hamadan and students of Bu Ali Sina University chanting the national slogan, Reza Shah, bless your soul. The largest student gathering in 2 years was held at KN Tusi University's Sayyid Khandan campus. Students, united and passionate, raised their voices against injustice and broken promises. They refused to meet with university officials, signaling their loss of trust in empty reassurances. Bakers in Mashhad gathered outside the Razavi Khorasan governor's office for the 5th day in a row. Their protest centers on unpaid bread subsidies and what they called the theft of people's bread by the company Nanino. A group of telecommunications retirees in Tehran, Isfahan, East Azerbaijan, Zanjan, Gilan, Khuzestan, Kurdistan, and Hamadan gathered to protest poverty, poor living conditions, and the government's neglect of their demands.
بازنشسته باقی مخابرات و بردن حق ما رو خوردن